Hey everybody, welcome back to Content Outside. I've had a few friends mention that they had thought about doing YouTube, and they've asked me about some tips and what kind of equipment I use and everything. So I thought, why not go ahead and make a video? I do want to be clear, when starting a YouTube channel, I feel like the most important thing that you should do is record things that you enjoy. Do the work because you enjoy it. It is work. It is a lot of work. There's a lot of time invested. There's a lot of planning and preparation that takes place. Then you record. Once you've recorded your videos, then the real work starts, editing. So this is my gig bag. This is just something I picked up at a store. It's not the greatest, but it is convenient. I like the way it works. I like everything about it, size-wise and everything, except for the zippers. They're not great. I need to put maybe some silicone on them or something and see if they'll get a little better. Otherwise, I'll probably be looking at something else. But this is just a satchel. It's a single strap, but it's got just a zip up at the top and a zip in the front. I put my camera and my Insta360 invisible stick inside here, and then inside the main pouch, there's a zip up section in there that sometimes I keep this battery in. This is an external battery. It's VRURC is the manufacturer. Whatever it is, it's something that I believe my wife picked up off of Amazon. This is actually a really critical component for my gig bag. It's got a couple of different electrical connections that come off of here. This is for the standard Apple connection for supplying power. And this has a USB-C and the older style, like I call it a Motorola. I think it's actually called a USB-A. I'm not positive about that. But regardless, this thing has a really good capacity. I'm at 10,000 milliamp hours and it's pretty worn. But the thing I like most about this is it has the ability to plug into a wall socket, 120 volts. You can just plug it directly into the wall, or you can also charge this with a USB-C, and it's got the ability to charge via these cables, or it has a USB port on the bottom as well. So super handy. A lot of times I'll use this to top off my batteries whenever I'm out in the field, and I've purchased several batteries, but sometimes when you're shooting all day or whatever, you may need a little bit more. And this gives me what I need. Plus, it'll also charge my other devices, such as my Insta360 mic, or my cell phone, or my earbuds, or whatever it is that I might want to be charging at the moment. Aside from that, the camera that I use is the Insta360 X5. It's a 360-degree camera. It shoots up to 8K. It also shoots at lower resolutions, 4K, whatever, I don't know. I'm not a tech guru, okay? But it came with one battery. One battery is fine if you're not planning on doing long recordings. You can charge the camera while it's in use, and I could use this battery, and I have used it in the past, but I found that it was just more simplistic and a better option to go ahead and buy this quick charger. And with the quick charger, I could go ahead and charge my secondary battery in about 20 minutes. Sometimes it takes a little more or less, just depending on obviously how exhausted the battery is, temperatures and things of that nature. But I didn't buy all this at one time. I've pieced it together. Initially, I started with the camera and the stick, and I've just continued to add on from there. So I bought these two additional batteries. This charger is really nice. One of the things about this camera is it uses SD cards for memory. So I pick up these SD cards. 512 gigs is pretty handy. You can buy, I think, up to 2 terabyte now, which is really nice, but I haven't seen the need to do that. For one, there's a couple reasons why. 512 gigabytes will last way longer than my batteries do independently, and it keeps me from putting all of my data into one card. That way, in the event that I do lose a card or it becomes corrupt, I didn't lose the entirety of my footage, most likely. So I prefer that method. You know, I'm not saying I always have the best method, but that's my preferred method. So 512 gigabytes. They really cost about the same when you buy 2 of them as you would pay for a terabyte. So you gain a little bit more that way, in my opinion, and you have more options. In addition to that, I've got this Insta360 mic. It's called an Air mic, I believe. Hasn't been my favorite purchase so far, just to be honest. I thought it would be really nice to have that external microphone. I can use it. There's times where it's convenient, but all in all, the microphone on this Insta360 camera is so good that it picks up way more than you would anticipate. There's 2 occasions that I would prefer to use my Air mic, and those 2 occasions are if I'm standing way far away from the camera and I still want to be heard clearly. Then I can put this on a lapel. There's a couple different options. I can either put it on this lanyard, or I can it's magnetized and it sticks directly to the back of the microphone, which is also how it charges. So you can stick it on this lanyard and you can dangle it from your neck, which I've never done, or you can take this magnet, stick it inside your shirt, attach it, or your hat, or whatever you want to use it on, and attach it directly to the back of the microphone, and you can place it wherever suits you. I like that aspect of it. You got this little wind reduction rabbit hair like cover that goes on the end of it. I don't know how much difference it makes, to be honest with you. It probably makes a difference, but this thing right here, not my favorite purchase. I think it was somewhere around $50. Quality's okay. Honestly, I just don't think it's necessary. So I wouldn't recommend getting this until you've purchased all the other stuff that I've got, unless you have some other application for it that would make it more useful to you. In addition to that, I've got this little cover that protects the lenses on the Insta360 X5 whenever it's not in its carrying case, which is this. It's just a zip-up bag. Generally, I'll keep the camera in the zip-up bag inside my bag when it's not in use. There's times when I'm doing my editing where the camera is out because it has to be on. It connects to my phone via Bluetooth, and so I'll just keep this cover on it to protect those lenses. The lenses are very scratch resistant. However, they can be scratched, and they're about $40 to replace the last time I checked. So I don't see a need to replace those, unless it were an accident or something that I scratched them, when I can cover them with a $7 little silicone cover. And I like that as well, because I noticed during the early editing of my videos, sometimes that camera would kick on, and I like my privacy. That may not be an issue with you or anyone else, but I don't like a camera recording things just spur of the moment when I didn't ask it to. So I bought this little cover and stuck it on there, and that's how I do all my editing now. So if it comes on, all it sees is black. It can get the audio, but whatever. And that brings me to another point. This particular camera setup, I don't know too much about the company that manufactures it. This is not a sponsored video. None of this equipment was given to me. I purchased it all with my own money because I wanted to start a YouTube channel. And so I did. I went and purchased everything that you saw here. And I didn't know a whole lot about anything regarding YouTube at the time. So why the Insta360? Why did I choose this camera? There are several reasons that I chose it. I don't know how valid those reasons are. I don't have a lot of experience with these style of cameras. I am happy with the results that I get from the camera. The ones that actually, the points that actually sold me on this camera are, it's supposed to have a really good low light recording ability. I don't have anything to compare that with personally, but I've seen the results and they're pretty impressive. In addition to that, some of the things that I like about it are the hands-free gesture to start and stop the camera. That is one thing also that I do like about my Insta360 Air mic, is it has the ability to start and stop the camera recording with a button on the mic, and that is really handy as well. In addition to that, one of the things that I actually enjoy about this camera is the invisible selfie stick, or invisible stick. The one that I purchased is around 42 inches long, something like that, and it also has an optional tripod on the end of it, the base of it. So I am currently using that option, and it's perfect if there's a stable platform, if you're not in a windy location. I had some instances where I was filming down in Florida where I was fishing on top of a houseboat, and you can find that video on the channel. I don't think I included the portions where the tripod would fall over because of the waves and the wind. Wasn't a big fan of that because obviously I've got an $800 camera attached to the end of it that's getting bounced off of the surface of the floor or whatever it's setting on. I think it may have also happened while I was fishing on the pier while I was down there on that same trip in Florida. Not something that I want to happen. Yes, I do have insurance on the camera for 2 years from the date of purchase because I opted to pay extra for that. However, when you're out on vacation or when you're out filming, it takes a lot of time to get everything set up sometimes, and the last thing you want to do is try to chase down some parts for your camera or have the camera fail entirely. So I try to avoid that, and I rarely use the tripod feature unless it seems like it would be favorable for the video. And so this is the phone that I use as my point and shoot camera for the moment. It's just a Samsung S24. There's nothing special about it. It does a fine job. It's got a pro mode for the camera. Whenever I'm not using my Insta360 X5, I use that. It does a good job. It's fine. I use that for my live feed. It's not great, but it's good enough. In addition to that, I do like the 360 camera when it works well, but unfortunately it's pretty glitchy, and a lot of that has been resolved with recent updates on the Insta360 app that I've used. A lot of the crashing and stuff has been mitigated, if not completely eliminated. However, I still have times where it disconnects, and I don't know if it's just my personal experience or if other people are having that issue as well. I do know that when I initially was having the issue, I reached out to customer service. Tech support was very good at trying to help me resolve the issue. They were easy to understand. They were easy to work with, in my experience. However, they weren't able to resolve the issue. Some of the issue seems to have been resolved by freeing up some space on my phone, monitoring how hot my camera and my phone got during the transfer process, and things like that. When the camera is warm, especially when I'm transferring files, it seems like battery usage is exponentially faster, and I'm sure that's why the heat is generated. It's gotten a lot better, but I still have issues on occasion, and I have to be a little more mindful about what my battery percentage is before I start to transfer files. And there's been times where I've had to cool the camera and my phone during file transfers to keep it from getting so hot that it pauses the transfer. One of the ways that I've been able to mitigate some of those issues as well is to keep my recording lengths more manageable sizes. That way, in the event that it does crash, I don't have to go through the entire process again. So generally, I'll try to keep each shoot for each segment at less than 30 minutes. Now, there's times where it goes well over that because I forgot to pause the video during the recording, and I haven't had too many issues with that lately with the latest app updates. So hopefully they've got all that resolved, but that is something that I really struggled with in the beginning, and it created a huge issue with my editing, especially since I didn't have a lot of experience with editing anyways. But things are getting better. One of the things that I really like about this camera is the ability to activate recording and stop recording by motion twisting. So if you've got the camera in your hand or on a stick, then you can rotate it basically 180 degrees in one direction and then the other, and it'll start or stop, pause the recording. It's been really handy. It's very effective. A lot of times the gesture is not very effective if the camera doesn't recognize the gesture about pausing or starting recording. However, the twist motion is very effective. So that's nice. As far as editing with this camera, it's not that intuitive, and it does take a lot of time from my experience, and it may be personal error or just not understanding how the camera works. I haven't spent a lot of time trying to learn the ins and outs of this camera. There's plenty of videos out there if you'd like to look at some of those, and you probably would gain a lot of knowledge from that I don't currently have. This is my first time actually using this camera as a single point camera. So generally all of my other recordings have been utilizing the 360 camera, the 360 lens, which gives you 360 degrees of recording of angle, and not only horizontally but also pretty much vertically, to the point that you're actually recording an entire sphere from the camera's perspective at all times. And that is the most beneficial part of this particular camera, in my opinion, and obviously it's its biggest selling point. So if you're in a small crowd, or if you're somewhere where you're not trying to reach out very far and get very crisp details at long distances, this camera is really good about that. You can pull any angle of footage from this camera. You can change the aspect ratios. You can do all of that after the fact, after recording. The one thing that it doesn't do very well, in my opinion, is zoom. It's not like it's a telephoto lens to where it can zoom in and give you a very good quality at any real distance. So at least from my experience, it may be possible to do that, and I just haven't discovered how. But I'm looking into a point and shoot camera to use in conjunction with this camera so that I can broaden my ability to record, especially for like hunts or nature or whatever the case may be. So I probably will have something figured out on that before I make a trip to Africa, which will be my first time out of the country. And I want to make sure that I'm able to document that well and capture a lot of the things that we're going to be experiencing while we're over there. Obviously for the channel, but also just for the memory of being able to go outside the country. My son Cooper and I have both acquired our passports, so we're actually able to travel worldwide for the first time legally. And he's going to be leaving the country before I do. He's going to be visiting Alaska and Canada. It'll be in 2026, and then again later in the year of 2026 is when we'll be going to Africa. So it's going to be a big year for him and for me as well. All right, so what editing software do I use? Currently, I'm using CapCut. I've been using CapCut since the inception of the channel. I am not the biggest fan of CapCut because I found out after purchasing CapCut, after purchasing my subscription, which is optional, CapCut is, do your own research. Do your research to find out who owns CapCut, and it may not be an issue for you. It is a bit of an issue for me. The problem with that is that I'm familiar with CapCut to some degree now. I've spent a lot of time on there trying to learn the editing software and everything. And so I'm a little apprehensive about changing at this point, just for the fact of ease of understanding, because I've invested so much time into trying to learn the editing details and all that. And it's pretty easy to use at this point. However, everything's got pros and cons, and I don't even know that I'll include this in the video, but there's some things that I really don't like about CapCut, primarily who owns CapCut. So I actually looked into YouTube for several years before I decided to start a channel. It's very hard to make that leap. At least it was for me. A lot of people probably enjoy having a camera in their face. I personally don't. It is something that is growing on me. I can't say that I like it, but I am getting more accustomed to it. Now, if you're going to start a YouTube channel, and I'm no professional YouTuber, I've got a very small channel, as you know. At the time of this recording, I've got 70 subs, I've got 14,000 views, I've got 324 likes, I've got 62 comments, and 80 shares. Now, my biggest or most popular video is the initial video, and like I said in the other video, the most popular video is the Pikes Peak Hill Climb racing video that I did, and it's currently got 2,300 views currently. And out of those 2,300 views, only 39 likes and 10 comments. And that's been on for just over 5 months. Now, a lot of those comments are actually mine. I've got 5 replies there, so half of those are mine, because I feel like it is important when people comment on your videos to reply and respond. As far as how to grow the channel, that is something that I'm still trying to figure out. Now that the channel is growing, it is getting easier to understand what is profitable, what is productive. To be clear, I have not met the criteria to make this channel financially productive. Okay, I haven't made a single penny off of any of my videos, and I haven't anticipated that I would make any money off of my videos, especially not at this point. I've mentioned in another video about how I got started. We were out on vacation. Somebody that was sitting near us at a race, the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, had mentioned that they wanted a video clip that I had caught about a particular vehicle in that video, and they were really anticipating that particular vehicle, and so he asked me if I caught it, and I did catch it. And so I told him, hey, I'd be happy to send you the clip whenever I get to where I have signal. And so we traded some information, and I said, you know what, I can do better than that. I can I could put this on YouTube and then everybody could see it. And that particular video got, I thought, you know, if this gets 100 views in a month, that'll be pretty cool. But I want to say the next day I had like 1,200 views. And it's still the best performing video on my channel, which is an extremely small channel, you know, but I think I've got something like 22 or 2,400 views on that particular video at this time. And that was about 6 months ago, just under 6 months, I think. So, you know, this isn't a great channel as far as viewership is concerned. It's still in the infantile stage of YouTube, but it is growing, and I'm thankful for that.